I'm gonna show you how to can pineapple. It's so easy and it honestly tastes so much better and way more fresh than the stuff from the store. So come on, let's do it. Now today I'm going to be doing the cold pack method for canning the pineapple, but I'll show you the recipe for the cold pack and the hot pack out of my ball book in case you want to do it the other way. Honestly, I just prefer the cold pack method because it is a little faster and easier, and the pineapple doesn't end up completely mushy. I like it to still have a little bit of crunch when it's canned because then it just seems more fresh to me. So these canning recipes are coming out of my 1940s ball blue book. So down here is pineapple. This is the cold pack method. This just kind of talks about how to cut it up, and then right here talks about how you can it, and then this is the hot pack. For the cold pack method, we're basically going to cut up the pineapple, put it in the jars, and then make a simple syrup, and then you basically just pour it over that. If you want to hot pack it, you actually cook the pineapple in the juice first. This option makes it really mushy. I don't like our pineapple cooked that much, so I'm doing the cold pack. The cold pack method is really fast, so we're going to go ahead and get everything ready before we actually cut up our pineapple. So I've got my clean jars that are rinsed off, sterilizing in the oven at 250 for 10 minutes. And I've got my lids over here in a small pot of water. I'm gonna bring that to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'll shut it off. They're sterilized and ready to go. Those are boiling, so now I'm shutting the heat off. Those are done. And then I got my big stock pot of water coming to a boil so that we can water bath can them once our jars are packed. Now we're going to make our sugar mixture to put over top of the pineapple once we fill our jars, and it's just made with sugar and water. Now let me explain the difference in the syrup so that you can use the syrup that you want to. Your heaviest syrup that you can use, and it's much thicker than your lighter syrups, is going to be a 50-50 mix, meaning half of your mixture is going to be water, half it's going to be sugar. So for example, you could do 2 cups of water and 2 cups of sugar. Your lightest syrup is going to be 90% water and only 10% sugar. So choose how sweet and thick you want your syrup. I like to go with more of the lower sugar options just because I don't want my kids consuming that much sugar. So for today, I'm going to do a 75% water and a 25% sugar. So it's going to be a cup and a half of water and a half a cup of sugar. Now you're just going to mix this around real well and bring it to a boil so that everything is nice and dissolved. And mine is kind of yellow looking. Honestly, it looks kind of like urine. And that's just because I'm using organic sugar. If you were to just use like your traditional white granulated sugar, it would be clear. So anyway, and we're boiling. So now we can shut this off and set it to the side. Now let's cut up that pineapple. Normally I only can food that I grow on our farm, but obviously living in Kentucky Zone 6B, we cannot grow tropical fruits here. So my grocery store had these on sale for only 99 cents yesterday, and they're really ripe. So they only had 4 left. So we ate 2 of them yesterday, and now I'm canning these 2. So to cut these things up, you always cut the top off first, and then I also cut off the bottom. So it looks like this, okay? And then what I do, now of course there's more than one way to skin a cat, but this is how I do it. I just go around and I scrape off all of the outside. I call it the skin. I don't know if that's what it's actually called, but whatever. And then when you actually cut up the pineapple, you can cut it up however you want. Some people like to cut it like French fries so you can pull it out in long strands and eat it. Some people like to dice it up. It's really whatever you want. Okay, so now it looks like this. I'm gonna dice it up, but you don't want to use that center circle right there because that part is really tough. You don't need that part. So you're gonna cut around it, just kind of like you core an apple. Cut the sides off around it. And then this will go in my compost bin, and this is what we're gonna cut up to can. And then also if there's any other skin hunks on there, get those off. All right, dicing it up. And then, ooh, that's hot. You just put it right into your sterilized jar. And don't burn yourself like I just did. Remember, your jars are hot. And I try to pack it in there so I get as much in there as I can. Okay, there we go. So those 2 medium-sized pineapples yielded 5 pints, and I did have a little bit left over that I couldn't shove in that I ate fresh. So anyway, let's go ahead and cover it now with the simple syrup, leaving an inch of headspace. And of course, we're always gonna use a butter knife to push in there and get all the air bubbles out after we put the syrup in. Well, my cup and a half of water and a half a cup of sugar was not enough brine for these 5 jars because I honestly thought that the 2 pineapples would only yield 4 jars. So anyway, I'm making a little bit more brine. And honestly, the amount of brine you need to make just depends on how many pineapples you're using. So anyway, that's okay. You can always make more. All right, all the jars are filled with the brine. Now I'm just going through and using my knife along the edges of my jar to get any bubbles out. And then I'll press my stuff back down in and make sure that it covers and it comes to an inch of headspace. Sometimes when you take those bubbles out, You got to go back through and add a little bit more of the simple syrup. But I think we're good. Now I'm just dipping my towel in that boiling water from my canner, and I'm wiping those rims so that we can guarantee a good seal. And then I'll add my lids and bands, and we're ready to water bath can. Got the jars in. Now the pints are going to process for 30 minutes if you did the cold pack method. If you did the hot pack method, they're only going to process for 20 minutes. And just a reminder, if the water stops boiling when you put the jars in, that's okay. Make sure it comes back to a boil before you start your timer. We're boiling, so now I got my timer set for 30 minutes. Timer's up, so I'm taking them all out. And there you go. It's that easy. And this stuff is delicious. It tastes so much more fresh and flavorful than the canned pineapple from the grocery store. It's just so good. Plus, it's not really mushy. I love it. If you have any questions, of course, let me know down in the comments below. Otherwise, happy homesteading and happy canning.